All right, I should start off by saying this is partially about Rob Gavigan. See, I needed someone to speak for me. When you're called mentally ill, you're not allowed to speak for yourself. Everything that you say is assumed to be some delusion. And all of your predators can use that to prey on you further, to justify the things that they did to you. Oh, well, he's mentally ill. I didn't steal from him. He's mentally ill. I didn't take his money. He's mentally ill. I didn't assault him. He's mentally ill. Rob Gavigan's channel. It only let me listen to a certain amount of it, and I did get to listen to part of the rest of it finally today. And it only lets me respond sometimes. Upon great occasion, it will let me type something there, but most of the time it says an unknown error occurred. On Rob Gavigan's channel, there's a lot of people who are trying to give me positive reinforcement, but they're not giving me the help that I need, and I can't communicate with them to get the help that I need. I need people to speak up. I was assaulted because people assumed my guilt. You guys say that I should go to the cops. Meanwhile, every cop that I fucking went to lied to me repeatedly. See, there's a reason that the police do not have the public trust. How many times was I lied to by police? How many times did they destroy evidence, hide evidence, omit evidence, slander my name, and repeatedly help the predators who were actually harming me? These cops did a lot of wrong things before Natalie was killed. Before Natalie was killed. Why would cops possibly be so invested in hiding the truth, in framing an innocent man? Because they broke the fucking law and it resulted in multiple deaths. Do you think those cops want to go to fucking prison for not doing their jobs? No, they're going to do everything in their power, using their position of power to hide the crimes that they committed. Now, the last part of Rob Gavigan's channel, he really does. He fucking does explain on that post a little bit about what I was going through. About how the narrative sold was wrong. But after he spent the first 16 minutes of that video fucking working it up, 16 minutes of working it up like I'm the bad guy. Shit, half the people watching that are zoning off while washing dishes. They gotta do shit, or they get fucking bored with it. Or they get halfway through and they go, man, this guy's a real bad motherfucker. I ought to fucking harass him. And then they don't listen to the whole goddamn thing. They're too busy threatening my fucking life and harassing me. And all these people get to have these opinions who weren't there for any of it. Their opinions are based on what they were allowed to see. Has Rob Gavigan had a follow-up? Has he followed up with me about this? No, he hasn't. He's been too busy. New stories and new ratings are what's important. The truth isn't. Somebody needs to look at the way that I was treated by the media and how that treatment resulted in me being physically, emotionally, and financially harmed repeatedly to this very day. Why won't the media post my side of it? Why won't the media look at any of my evidence? Why won't the media do for me what they did for my predators? Why won't the police do for me what they did for my predators? Why won't a court of law do for me what they did for my predators? Because my predators were allowed to speak and I wasn't, because I was called mentally ill. I have shown so much evidence from these very people's mouths and their own typing little fingers. These were the addicts. Danica Garner, the addict. This is one of her stepmothers. And then there's her real mother, another addict. There's her father, another addict. Where do I have to go to find a family like that? Oh, yeah, my own. I've never raped anybody. I've never molested anybody. But you know what? I'm the one who gets treated like a bad guy. My grandpa rapes my mom, and she's constantly telling us kids about it, me and Tara and Michael and Eric, about what a terrible person grandpa is. And then grandpa's always giving mom money. He raped my mom when she was under the age of 18. My mom's almost 60 years old, over 60 years old, I believe, by the time my grandpa died. My grandpa died after Natalie did, so did my grandmother. My grandmother was a good woman, my grandfather was not. But my mom doesn't care about human beings, she cares about things. She wanted my Grandma Gross's house. My Grandma Gross, Grandpa obviously was a descendant of Grandma Gross, and he inherited her house. But he died, and he gave all of the stuff in his will to his wife, Twyla. Well, Twyla didn't extort $200,000 out of him in his lifetime. Also, just like that officer who got busted raping a woman after 27 years on the force. How many years had he been raping people and getting away with it before that? How many of his victims tried to go in and turn him in and were arrested for doing so? So my mom helped the predators get away. Not just that one, but also my little brother. He's supposed to be a father figure to them girls, not fuck them. And now they're forced to normalize with their predator because of my mom. And then there's Andrew Witcher. You know, these people promised to help me after Natalie died. And I went over there for the help that they promised. They said, hey, if you watch our kids, we'll help you. I watched your kids on the days that I was supposed to. And every other day of the fucking week for some odd fucking reason. Could it have something to do with Andrew's meth addiction? What did my mom do? She gave them her house here in Chapel, Nebraska. Yeah, thanks. What a mother. Reward my fucking predators. Reward sexual offenders. Of course, I wouldn't expect anything less out of my mother. I used to work for a guy named Doug Cowden, who later turned out to be a child molester. He was living at my mom's house. He stole a bunch of money from me. Him and my older brother were supposed to go to Denver and get me a Mustang. That was going to be my first car. I was 16 years old. I was super excited. Well, that didn't end up happening. We got there, and my older brother and Doug, I wanted to trust my older brother. I always looked up to him. They told me I was there for a Ford Mustang, and I got there, and this guy in a carpet van pulls up next to us on TGI Fridays. Doug comes over, he says, you want a Fender Stratocaster and a amplifier to go with it? It'd be another $200. I already thought it was a great fucking deal because I was getting a Ford Mustang for 900 and something bucks. But when Doug came back about that fender, yeah, I really wanted it. You know, he knew exactly how to fucking manipulate me. Yes, I've always wanted a Ford Mustang. That's my favorite car. Yes, I would love a Fender Stratocaster and a fucking amplifier. I love music. They knew exactly how to manipulate me. But, of course, there's my built-in lie detector. These guys aren't shooting me straight. My older brother ain't shooting me straight. Doug ain't shooting me straight. So after about 10 minutes, they were pissed off and they're doing the whole fucking trying to twist it around on me like, Sean, you fucking wasted our time. We took our time to come down here and try to get you a car. I spent this time calling this guy up and seeing about that Mustang to help you out. We came all the way down here. It's 9:30 at fucking night. We just want to go home. And you're just wasting our time. If you didn't want the fucking car, and my older brother, you know, he's fucking going right along with it. Next thing you know, there I am, out all of my money. Doug bought a pound of marijuana that went to Dennis and Brenda Dickinson, and he bought some cocaine. And that cocaine went to my mother and Doug and my older brother Eric. When I tried to tell my mom what happened, this is where the coke went. I tried to explain to my mom what happened, how they were going to help me to get a Mustang, and she already knew about it. You know, that's the worst part. Almost. So, Doug Cowden, I didn't find out until after he was dead that he had borrowed money from everybody from Gary Jepson to Stretch to everybody else in fucking town. Now, when I tried to tell my mom what Eric and Doug had done, she said, well, I'll go talk to him. She went out there for about 45 minutes. She came back with her hair fucked up and her shirt buttoned up crooked, and we got into an argument. She was obviously coked out of her fucking gourd. She kicked me out of the house. So, at 16 years of age, I left my mother's house. Fuck it, right? So goes life. Except that it didn't end there. She called up the police and said that I ran away because I didn't want to wash the dishes. And then she ran around town telling everybody that I was schizophrenic. You know, Angela K. Wade, half the people in this town were already aware of your fucking cocaine habit by that point. I mean, shit, you'd been using cocaine since you were in fucking high school. The ones who did believe you treated me like shit, but a lot of people didn't because they know what kind of a person you are, Angela. And a lot of these people, like Brandon Ratner, you know, he understands the mentally ill tag. His brother is fucking schizophrenic. I get treated like his brother, and I'm not schizophrenic. Brandon knows it. Veronica knows it. Peaches knows it. All these people know it. And Chelsea and many, many other people. There are at least a dozen people right here on my YouTube channel that I have recorded saying that I'm not schizophrenic. But they didn't say it in court. They didn't speak up. See, here's the thing about police being able to use and manipulate their power. That includes being able to manipulate the medical community. When those officers assaulted me and did wrong things because they assumed my guilt and wanted to go vigilante instead of following the law, that mentally ill thing comes in handy. It comes in handy when you want to turn off your camera. Because when you turn off your camera, you're no longer dealing with a sane person. You can pretend they said or did whatever the hell you want. If the audio says something different than your narrative, but you can try to make your narrative fit just the video without audio, that's all you're going to allow out there. those body cameras from those officers in the assault by Waylon Lolatai. I was told that there were no body cameras. And then later on, I was told that there were. When law enforcement fucks up, or the courts fuck up, or the medical community fucks up, they have the power to cover it up. If they can call you mentally ill, you don't have the rights that many of you keep telling me that I do. You keep telling me, Sean, you should do this, you should do that. No, those are things that people who are not called mentally ill are allowed to do. The laws are completely different for someone who is called mentally ill. We are literally guilty unless someone speaks up for us. We are literally not allowed to show evidence unless someone speaks up for us. When that judge in Natalie's case, before Natalie was killed, fucked up big, it wasn't him who had to pay the consequences. I didn't even know Natalie was in the state of Colorado, for shit's fucking sake. People say I drove 1,700 miles to stalk her. No, I drove 1,700 miles at her request because if I didn't, she was gonna fucking kill herself. Her own words. I drove another 1,700 miles to get away from those fucking heroin addicts. I drove all the way from Chesapeake, Virginia to Boulder, Colorado to get the fuck away from them. You say, Sean, you just need to move on. No. Somebody doesn't get to move on when they have to live the abuse every single day. I don't have the right to own a firearm. Meanwhile, my predators have firearms. My predators have a history of physically abusing many people. With me, the only people I have a history of abusing are people who abused me and got away with it by pretending it's my fault and using the mentally ill tag to justify it. I'm sure that cop who raped that woman tried saying, hey, I didn't rape her. She's mentally ill. And they said, well, Mr. Officer, this time we got you on camera. I was trying to get help with that so that I could record those instances where I had to go in and talk to the police alone. Because people who promised that they were going to never kept their word. Now we've got the fucking public pretender dude here, Mr. Starkey or whatever. He's been helping these officers in this town who have committed multiple felonies across the last 4 years and done everything in their power. This is literally a conspiracy. They conspired to cover up their own crimes and the crimes of others. That is a conspiracy. A great conspiracy cannot be proven. So this is not a great conspiracy because I've already proven it. Now I'm going to take a brief moment to show you all what I'm working on. You notice there's a couple of M16s on my wall. 3 of them. They're not real. This one right here. It's called an Umarex Rect. You notice that the tip is bright orange. Is putting it up in the air the smart thing to do? No, it needs to be pointed down. Now, is the first thing that I should have done to just grab it and point it up at the air? No, it's not. First thing I should have done on a real M16, this right here is called the charging handle. You grab it and you pull it back. On this one, it doesn't work. It's just for show. However, the sight is removable, and I do have a better sight for it. Now, the first thing you need to do, pop open the dust cover, check the action for brass. That's because the cartridge that a bullet sits in is made out of brass, and it slides in there, and when it fires the bullet out, the brass doesn't fire out with the bullet. It comes out of the ejector port here. By checking it with your finger for brass, and a lot of people say you shouldn't do that, as long as you can see the back end of it, you're doing good. And that is a better way of doing it if you have good lighting condition. If you don't have good lighting condition, checking for brass with your finger is the only way to do it. You do not want to do this on an M1 Garand, you'll lose a finger. But you can do it on an M16 AR-15. Now this right here is CO2 powered. It's got, you see how wide it is here? It's got 2 CO2 cartridges that slide into it. And let me show you the terrible fucking monsters that it fires. Now, first of all, I want you to take a look at the settings on it. It does have safe and fire settings. And where is it set now? That's right, it's set to safe. You notice my finger is not on the trigger. It's either here or here. Never actually on the trigger until I'm ready to shoot. Now, should it be pointed up in the air? No, it should not. I leave them that way for a purpose. That is the wrong way to set up your guns. Now, that's not the only one I have. I also have a red one. Also, bright orange tip. Again, pop open the dust cover. Check for brass. Visual inspection or your finger, depending on the lighting conditions. Finger stays off the trigger. Now we look over to this side. Check it. Is this on safe or is it on fire? It's on fire. Now why is it on fire? I didn't set it to fire. Well, that's because I didn't check it before putting it on my wall, which is another thing that I should have done. Now obviously it doesn't have a magazine in here. And if you notice, it's pump action. That right there, this thing in the front goes back and forth. Now once this piston is slid into place, the only way, see there I'm pulling the trigger, there's a wall right there, could be somebody on the other end of the wall if this is a real gun, and this is an unsafe thing to do. However, why am I doing that? Well, it's because I know that it's not loaded, although all firearms, whether they shoot these little things or not, yes, this is seriously, with this mean looking thing fires little foam darts. Now in order to fire it, you got to push it over to fire. I'm going to point it at the ground. What goes up must come down. Now since I fired it, I can pull this back. When I pull it back, you can see inside of there. Check for brass. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we're definitely going to move it back over to safe before putting it on the wall. You notice I do not put it up with the magazine in. This one right here, I was putting up with the magazine in, the first one that I got. And the reason for that is because I didn't want to lose the magazine. I was moving and shuffling a lot of stuff in here. I'm starting to get it more organized. I spent about, I want to say about 2 hours organizing it this morning. Starting to get my drill bits separated from a lot of the other nuts and bolts and screws and things of that nature. I got my tap and die set here so that a lot of my projects I'm going to need to be able to make God, what's the name of it? A template. And the templates are going to be used to make a jig. And a jig is for mass production. It's so that you can make the same part every time the same. Every time. And then once you're done making that part, the parts for it will be interchangeable. Some people say that's not the craftsman's way. But if you look at a lot of them old cobblers, they kept hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of templates. If you came in to buy a shoe to one of them old cobblers back during the Civil War or prior, they had a template for your foot. They already had the measurements for your foot so they could make you the best possible shoe they could specifically for your foot. And every cobbler did this. Now we mass produce shoes and we make them so they got a bunch of padding and cushioning in so that they'll basically be sort of comfortable for pretty much anybody. This one right here, this one does have this is the part that I was telling you about. The first thing we're going to do, it does not have a dust cover, so we cannot check it for brass. I can stick my finger up there, but that's not smart. This one does not caulk. This one right here is a removable forward grip, if I can get it to come off. I could put it on one of those two as well if I wanted to. I mean, they look pretty similar, don't they? Yep. I wonder if it'll actually fit on the same rail. We'll find out. I guess we ought to pretend to care about gun safety, because we do. Check for brass again. And now we'll try setting this on there. Now this should be done while it's pointed towards the ground. And apparently, the rails on this are too big to accept this handguard. Or this forward grip. Good to know. Let's put it back on here. It's funny, all of these have plastic bayonet lugs. All of them. That's this thing right here is. It's a bayonet lug. And it's weird where they put them on there because really they're not going to do any good. If you hit somebody with a bayonet, it'll break it off. This one, it's not even going to fit all the way down because these things are in the way. You know, I mean, and those ones are too short. There should be a few inches in between the bayonet lug and the flash hider. That's what this bright orange thing at the tip is called. Now, this one right here comes with a flashlight, bright blue, and of course it's all plastic. Matter of fact, this one doesn't even have a functional dust cover. So I mean, although it does look more realistic from a distance, other than the orange tip, that one has more realistic features as far as the dust cover goes, and this one has more realistic features as far as the cocking lever goes. I'll show you up close. This right here is the cocking lever. All right, now this is how you adjust a mil-spec bipod. I've had 3 people touch this one and 1 person touch that one so far that they were trying to figure out the buttstock and just couldn't quite get it. Now, these are good for teaching gun safety as long as you exercise proper gun safety with them. Also, you're not gonna kill anybody with this. Not even fucking close. This one is actually heavier than that one. They're all lighter than a real M16, obviously. They got plastic barrels and plastic housing and plastic buttstock. And this one, some of the internals feel pretty heavy, but I don't know how to break it open. It doesn't break open. Neither does this one. All right, now I got one last one to show you. Oh, sorry, I was going to show you the buttstock on this. This one is a 4-position adjustable, I believe. And that one is a 4-position adjustable. However, I got this one and this one today in the mail. And let me show you the... Yes. This actually could be used for self-defense. It just shoots BBs, but it shoots them full auto. Obviously, it's not going to kill somebody. Any of y'all who have ever been shot with a steel BB, you know it hurt like a son of a bitch. Even if it's out of a low-powered fucking Daisy Air rifle, a Red Ryder, or a Buck. Those are the ones that were popular when I was a kid. If you got shot by one of them, you had a welt. It was bruised around it and yellow in the center where the BB hit you. And it would really piss you off to get hit by one. But you're not going to walk into a barrage of them, especially 1,400 of them per minute. That's what this thing fires. Now, the scary part about this, you notice the tip. Now, yes, the tip on this is plastic. However, and just like on the box, on the box, they didn't paint the tip like they did those three. So I can't even take this outside. But if you notice on the box here, also it's a black flash hider. There's no flash because it doesn't fire an actual bullet. It is cool because it comes with a red dot reflex sight. Well, let me show you the magazine on it. It kind of looks like an M16 magazine, doesn't it? It's got about the weight of a full M16 magazine. However, an M16 magazine doesn't have one of those. This is the fire control group, basically. This is what, like, how I have the magazine for this one that you fires these big-ass BBs and you pull the thing down. Same thing. But this one doesn't fire plastic BBs. They're not 6mm. They're a lot smaller. But it's got the thing on the front of the magazine just like that one does, that you pull down. There's this fill hole right here in the center, and this spring actually goes past that. Also, I haven't taken this apart yet. This will be the first time because I literally just got it today. But it's just slide that way to open. All right. Maybe there's instructions for it. I don't know. The side comes off somehow. But I'm apparently not smart enough to figure it out, and I do apologize for that. Well, screw it. I'll figure it out eventually. It don't matter right now. I don't have any ammo to put in it, and I don't have a CO2 cartridge to make it work. This is a reloader. It's so that you can reload. I'm not sure how many rounds it holds exactly. I haven't read through it all. I probably should have read the manual first. And if you own a real firearm, a BB gun, or even a Nerf rifle, it's probably a good idea to read the instructions first. Oh my God, my red dot sight. This thing right here. Apparently, from what I was reading after I purchased this, the rails on it are mil spec, which means that if you get a military sight, those rails on there are military sized. So if there's any aftermarket AR-15 accessories that you want to utilize, they'll bolt right onto this thing. You can't just swap out the barrel, obviously. So you can't turn it into an actual real functioning firearm that fires actual bullets. But if you look at the thing, it's intimidating enough as is. It's already fucking scary looking. And one thing that I was debating, because I do want to go out shooting it, I do want to tear it down and look at the electronics and the internal workings all the way down to every last part, and learn how they did it, learn some of these different tricks that they used for assembly. And, a lot of times when I think about stuff like that, I incorporate it into my own ideas. I've seen some stuff that was used to make actual rifles that is incredibly complicated. And I try to fucking simplify shit down to its base components. But I've been able to look at some of these really, really complicated things and find a way to make my job easier. How weird is that? All right, well, I guess I'm going to have to figure out how to put the battery in this thing. That should be in the instruction site, and it's usually used for CQB. That's for close quarters battle. That's when your opponent is right fucking there in front of you. Now, if you look at this, it's kind of a mirror. I mean, I can do my hair in this. It doesn't have a cross reticle or anything of that nature. So it's not like you have an actual sight. I mean, this is something that's going to be, well, as close as you're going to be shooting with a BB gun. If you're in close quarters battle, you're about BB gun distance, if not closer. So this right here is more than enough. Also, I suppose if somebody wanted to, they could take this and put it on their M16. I just don't see why they would. I mean, this is pretty cheap. They do have ones with a reticle within that. Those are better. I'm sure, you know, we could say this one is cheaper because, I mean, really, it was a free accessory to something I was going to get anyway, even if it didn't have the accessory. But also, it doesn't have any sights on it other than that. It doesn't have a forward post sight anywhere in here like those ones do. That's what this part right here is called, is a forward post sight. Check for brass again, I suppose. And yes, I should be pointing at this at the ground every single time, not pointing it up in the air. And yes, because it's a Nerf gun, I get to use that as an excuse every time I put it on my wall. It's a Nerf gun. It's not going to fire an actual bullet up through my roof. But at the same time, that is also irresponsible gun handling, because every firearm, whether it is a squirt gun, a BB gun, an air rifle, or just a noisemaker, should be treated as if it were a real firearm. When you start getting into the habit of treating toy guns like they're toys, you've already gotten into the habit of treating guns like toys. When you have a real gun in your hands, what's going to stop you from playing with it in the same bad habit fashion that you've been playing with your squirt guns? Now, I don't have any CO2 cartridges for this, and I don't have any BBs for it. But as soon as I do, I sure as hell want to go out and play with them. Now, a lot of people are saying all sorts of nutty stuff, like these guns can be used to make a full auto gun. Now, I did see a guy who, and you know, later on he made a video admitting that it was a practical joke. The ATF went and seized a whole bunch of imported BB guns. All right. Now, this one right here is pretty heavy, but it's plastic. All this shit is fucking plastic. The barrel is fucking plastic. Even sounds like plastic. It's scary, though, because it looks real. It's very scary. This one right here, just like all the other ones, has an adjustable stock. This one has a 6-position adjustable stock. Now, is this thing really going to help me out if people are trying to kill me? Probably not. This one does, however, have a lot of realistic features to help with training with gun safety. See, much like that one there, it's got a dust cover. Much like that one there, it's got the M16 style cocking lever. When you pull the cocking lever, it pulls this back and it pops this open. Now, this bolt here, despite the fact that it's plastic, it's meant to look like an M16 when it's open. Now, it doesn't exactly look like an M16. I mean, there should be a couple of dots there, and those are vent holes. And, there's a lot of stuff that obviously, because this is plastic and this is plastic. I mean, these are parts of the real gun that you wouldn't be making in plastic. It's also got the same disassembly. Now, similar disassembly. This right here is called the forward assist. This little button right here. It kind of sticks out at an angle from the firearm. And where those little grooves are on a real M16, that forward assist is meant to push on those grooves if the thing doesn't quite close all the way. The forward assist on this does not work. It's just for show. It's just there to look pretty. It doesn't actually do anything. Now, with disassembly on this, check it out. All right. We pull out this pin here. When we pull out the pin, it allows this thing to pivot forward. When that pivots forward, we get to see bits and pieces. This right here is the bolt assembly. And, oh wow, that is actual metal. The internals are actually metal on this. The barrel is still plastic though. And then it looks like it's got a two-piece system here. I don't know what all these parts and pieces in here are supposed to do actually. Here's part of it. It looks like this is just a weight of some sort. It kind of looks similar shape to some bolts, but it doesn't have any of the specialized machining done to it. Sorry about that. The next piece, it looks like, let's see if pulling that out. Yep. Pulling out the cocking lever, which is also aluminum. And appears to be mil spec. I have to measure it. This is the quasi bolt type thing that I was telling you about. See on the side, it's got all those lines on it to make it look like it might be a functional M16 magazine when you open up the dust cover. But the thing is, it doesn't kick anything out of the dust cover. It's just there for effect. And then, of course, you've also got the internals. Let's take a good look at this, though. It's got a drop-in trigger. Obviously, it's not the same type of trigger as in an M16 or an AR-15. And then we've got this little bolt section here. See, this is like a 4-part bolt section for some odd reason. And that right there, obviously, on an M16, it would lock into place. This part here doesn't move, though. That's a portion of the housing. I'm trying to find a way to show it here. This part here is non-reciprocating. It's attached to this piece, which is attached to the chamber, which is attached to the plastic barrel. It's just a cast piece of pot metal. It is not going to stand up to a lot of the pounding and punishment that you would have to deal with a real firearm. Another weird thing about this, the gas tube. There's this weird little gas buffer thing that this is actually apparently where you're supposed to put in the CO2. And that's where the buffer tube would be on an M16. These ones kind of recess a little bit, maybe a quarter of an inch, whereas on an M16, that bolt would have to recoil the entire length of the bolt. So if the bolt is 6 inches long and it moves 5.5 inches backwards, that means this right here has to also be able to move 5.5 inches backwards. Now, because this is similar to mil-spec, this should actually come off. See, when I was pressing it like this, that'll make it so you can move it back and forth. But if you pull this out, this little thing right here, then you can pull off the whole thing. You can see the little holes in the bottom here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of them. Now that right there, that's where you're supposed to put in the CO2. And a lot of y'all who have seen pistol versions of the M16, they do kind of look like that. Some of them have a little bit shorter one because they chop off the back end of the bolt on those, and that allows them to shorten it up a bit. They also generally put the recoil spring either on the top. I've actually seen it done 4 or 5 different ways. This handguard is obviously not going to be interchangeable, or this upper assembly, sorry, is obviously not going to be interchangeable with mil-spec, and the reason for that is because you're using a plastic fucking barrel, you know? You're using plastic parts, and I get that you have some play with that. I mean, there are some high density materials that you can sort of temporarily replace metal with in a firearm. But this isn't that type of plastic, and the parts that need to be metal on it are not metal. So if you were going to try to convert this to fire full auto, you'd kill yourself. Or blow a hole out of the side of your face or out of the side of your hand, or possibly both. It'd definitely blow a hole in the side of your wannabe firearm. So don't be a dumbass. Now, in order to reassemble this, it's similar to that of an M16. You need this is your ejector here, or this is your cocking lever, sorry. You put that in part of the way, take this thing, you put in where it goes, and it has to fit into this groove here on this piece. If it doesn't fit into that groove, it's not going to go in. What a pain. All right, there, we got it. Once we've got that in there, we take this piece here. I think the hole was in the back, and this part was in the front. Always pay attention to how you put it in there. Yep. And then you pop it back up, push it in place, push in the pin. Take this here, put it on there, pull the pin out, hear it click into place. Now we can press the button, adjust it up and down. Without sights on it, it's a little bit awkward because you're basically looking up the rail. You cannot adequately fire that. I mean, I'd have to, just to even out the rail, I'd have to look at it like that. And you can see as soon as you do that, that there is a big ass bow in it. There's actually a reason for that. That's to get some spin on the BBs as they come out of the barrel. It's just a very slight spin. But the reason for that, it's similar to rifling. If you get it spinning, it's basically going to ride on the air as it goes along. It helps it to encounter less friction. But other than that, I mean, it's not something that I would take to war. Matter of fact, if there were armed gunmen, this isn't something that I would even pull out. Be like, they got real guns, I have a fake gun. If it comes down to it, and we both pull the trigger, I'm the one who dies. However, if somebody's showing up with a baseball bat. Something like this is realistic enough that pointing it out your door at them will probably get them off your property. If not, this does not have a metal buttstock, so it has a plastic one. So if you have to smack them with it to try to defend yourself, you run the risk of breaking this thing. Now, when it comes to saving your life, yeah, it's probably better to have this thing break than it is to end up a corpse. Wouldn't you agree? So, this one right here, I don't have a hanger post like I do for the other ones. It is very cool, I agree. Some of you who don't think it's cool, well, that's all right. You don't have to. As far as self-defense, yeah, maybe, but probably not. I mean, I'd really like to just, I'm half tempted right now at this very moment to just spray paint the thing bright fucking orange so I don't get shot for having it. I would like to go out and plink with it a little bit. That's special shooter's words for shooting at targets that are inanimate instead of shooting at people or elephants or rabbits or somebody's vehicle driving down the fucking road. You're shooting at a target, usually a paper target or a soda bottle or something of that nature. Hopefully with the next few days, I'll be able to build a rack for these things so that I can put them up muzzle down. It shouldn't take much. They all have the adjustable buttstocks on them. So basically all I would need is a rail that would be wide enough to go around them. And that's not too complicated. I got some hangers here I can bend into place, and I'll just make one for each of these. Do these do me any good if Ted Bollinger is out and about? No, they don't. Now, because I showed y'all on video that these aren't real firearms and that they obviously fire foam and, you know, this one fires BBs. That one fires plastic BBs. This one fires real BBs. Well, I guess real is a relative term in that because those are real BBs too. They're just big and plastic. This one fires the little metal ones. I love the balance on these things because the buttstock is set at just enough of an angle that I can set it on the floor and the muzzle points straight up in the air. This one actually does the same thing. Pretend like we're checking for brass, although there ain't none. We should really be doing it like that, putting it downward when we do it. But yeah, when I set it down on the ground, it's pointing straight up in the air too. The only thing it's supported by is this little bit of the buttstock. Matter of fact, let's fold it out and see if that works. Yep, just as well balanced. Now then you look at these two, and they're kind of similar. I mean, this one's got a black body, whereas this one's got a tan body. And this one's got a tan handle, whereas this one's got a black handle. But also you can feel the quality in this. I mean, this right here, this is between this one and that one. I mean, it was less than $50 for the both of them. A lot less than $50. And they feel it. They're lightweight. It's like a fucking plastic gun that you would get in the toy section at Walmart. They're just more expensive because it's kind of realistic looking. But if you look at them side by side, I mean, they are pretty similar. It would be pretty cool if I could take the buttstock and the handle off of that and put it on this one, but they're not going to be interchangeable. And I guess that's about it. When it comes to defending myself against my predators, I already know I'm not going to be allowed to do that. But I don't care if I'm allowed to or not. If someone were to come here today and be threatening my life or the lives of my loved ones, I don't have any mace. If it was a life or death situation, this is not what I would grab. Those are not what I would grab. That machete there is not what I would grab. If lives are in danger, I just hope that my brains are enough to figure a way out. Saving lives is important to me. And I know a lot of y'all just watch this channel here because you're looking for some excuse to hate me or some reason that you can magically justify the terrible things that you did. And when you get on here and harass me, you don't care that you're harassing an innocent man. It doesn't make any difference to you. But this channel isn't for you. This channel is for decent people who care about the truth, who care about their rights. People who understand that by allowing this to happen to me, they're setting it up in the future for it to be allowed to happen to them. A lot of people that could have spoke up told me they're sorry, they don't understand why they need to speak up. They don't understand how them coming forward and telling the truth is going to make any difference. Well, that's fucking crazy, ain't it? Let's see how well this red dot sight works. I just figured out how to make the battery thing go together. All right. I don't think that's the red dot sight. It's supposed to have a red dot sight. Red dot reflex sight. Well, how the hell do you turn it on? Oh, maybe I got the battery in upside down. A lot of people didn't understand, and then there were a lot of people who just didn't want to understand. Oh, there it is on the other side. All right, I found it. The on-off switch for the red dot sight. Ah, I get it now. It's so that you can see the red dot, but your opponent can't. But if you look at it from this way, nothing. Let's get that bad boy on there. And then this right here, these are called Allen head wrenches. A lot of stuff nowadays requires Allen head wrenches. They are actually easier than screws in many cases. They're also many different sizes. Somebody's going to have some issues if they show up wanting to think that they can disassemble just a wall or a part of something and get at the innards with a Phillips screwdriver when they show up and there is no Phillips. And of course, this is exactly what you're not supposed to do. If I move my head here, then the dot moves. If I move my head here, then the dot moves. If I bring it down or bring it up, the dot moves. Let's see how it works with the stock out. Oh God, yes. Yep. Now it's just a matter of taking it out to the range. It's got two adjusters on it, one on the top and one on the side. Those are adjusted by the little Allen wrench here. And that actually adjusts whether the dot on the sight is higher or lower or to the left or to the right. It seems to me pretty well centered, but of course you can't tell until you go out and put a couple rounds through it. This is not even close to one of the fast ones. This one shoots up to 430 feet per second. There are some air rifles that'll shoot in excess of 2,000 feet per second. That's faster than the speed of sound. And matter of fact, that's even faster than most bullets. They also fire a much smaller round, so it's not as dangerous, but it's still dangerous. Now, I am done messing around with this. I should probably, well, I guess that sight's not going to come off of there without a little bit of doing. So I'll just, I guess I'll have to put another screw in the wall. And this one I think we will attach to the wall face down. And it also looks like, because of the size of the holes on it, I'm going to have to put a nail through the wall instead. I'll be right about there. Yeah, that worked. All right, so I've done enough yelling and bitching and screaming at y'all today. I've showed you the stuff that I got going on, some of the stuff that I'm working on. Oh, these are the magazines for the blue one, for the bright red one. Bright orange magazines. If you get shot by cops playing with these, then cops were looking for an excuse to shoot somebody. Now, if you get shot by the cops carrying this one, or this one, it's your own dumbass fault for carrying something that looks like a real fucking gun. If you're gonna go carrying around shit that looks like a real fucking gun, expect people to respond as if it's a real fucking gun. Will this go through that piece? Nope. I will have to go out and find a nail. Anyway, y'all be safe. You really do need to look out for each other. I know you may be pissed off at whoever for whatever fucking reason. Maybe they can't get off the drugs. Maybe they should probably be taking care of their kids instead of doing all the fucking meth and alcohol that they're doing. At the end of the day, though, they're still a human being. Despite the fact that Natalie, while fucked up on drugs, destroyed my life. When she disappeared, the right thing to do was to help find her. Was Katie Whiteman trying to help find her? No, she wasn't. She was busy on the internet being a fucking drama hound. When Natalie disappeared, was her mother busy looking for her? No, she was busy getting onto my Facebook, slandering my name, calling me names, and trying to incite public violence against me. Well, it worked. You pretend that I'm a bad person for telling on the people who abused me. And I still haven't shut up. Rob Gavigan, I don't know what the fuck your deal is. You know, you did finally at the end of that at least say some stuff that was true, which I'm glad for. But you said you were going to get back to me. You said you were going to go through the information that I sent you and let me know so I could send you some more. That was 5 months ago, Rob.